Now let's draw this chair. It contains only straight lines as building blocks, so it should be an easy one, right? Well, not necessarily. It is a bit challenging, but it will be a great exercise to recognize some interesting interrelations. I'd like to note there are several ways to approach a subject like this. I'll just show you one possible way of doing this. The first thing I recognize is that this is a perfect example of two-point perspective. This lower part of the chair is basically a cube. We can realize that these vertical edges are parallel to each other. These edges converge to a single vanishing point somewhere in the distance, while these edges converge to another vanishing point somewhere on the right. This time I use a soft P pencil holding like this at the end of the pencil so I can make pretty loose strokes. I draw the legs of the chair with thick, light strokes. I'm trying to follow their horizontal distribution. I'm watching the distances between them. Now I'm checking the angle of this edge. It's around 45 degrees. Something like this. I draw the inner edge of that leg behind. Now let's analyze the angle of this edge. It is slightly above the horizontal. So I copy this tilt. I draw this other edge, keep it in mind that it converges a little. I draw the front edge, which also converges with the one behind. Now let's analyze the bottom edges of the imaginary cube. They converge the same way, but in a little bit bigger angle. Because remember, all of these four edges meet in one single point somewhere in the distance. Now let's see the other bottom edges. It's the same method, just on the other side. You see, it's just a cube we have already learned to draw. The only challenge here is to place it in the right orientation. You will see at the end why it's important. But we have checked the angles, so it should be just fine. Now this cross brace is somewhere at the lower third. It converges to the very same vanishing point on the left because it's parallel with the left edges of the cube. I draw the other cross braces, keeping them in line with their own vanishing points. You see, these edges all converge to the same vanishing point. And these ones converge to the other. I find some kind of beauty in this, even if it's just a simple chair. Now let me add some thickness to the seating surface, the legs, and the cross braces. Now here is a trick. While I'm doing this, I'm paying attention to those holes between the legs. There is a term for this in drawing. It's called negative space. I try to copy their shapes, width and height as I'm drawing. So I'm not focusing on the dark areas on the subject, but the white areas behind the subject. If these white shapes are accurate on your drawing, your subject will also be proportionally right at the end. Notice that the backrest has a slight tilt compared to the vertical. So this is the vertical, and a slightly tilted line. Now let's measure how tall this backrest is compared to the cube. I'm using my pencil and my finger to determine. It's a little bit taller. Let's mark this. I switch to overhand grip. It will be easier to draw this part. Alright, so we have a pretty nice structure of this chair. Let's fill in this plate. And let's start to develop our contour lines. As you can see, I can make corrections as needed. I'm looking at the whole picture to see where things need to be fixed. We have 6 slats over here. Let's draw them equally distributed. As a next step, I draw the contour lines of the chair. Pay attention to which one is in front and which one is in cover. When you draw these contour lines, it's important to remember our vanishing points. These contour lines should also point towards them. This is where your straight line drawing skill pays off. I speed this up because there is nothing new here. I just keep watching the reference photo as I'm drawing these contour lines. Look, I'm using the kneaded eraser like this to remove this tiny graphite dot over here. Alright, I think I got a pretty nice drawing of this chair. I hope you got something similar. Now let me mark some key elements with color pencils. These verticals were our starting point. We got a slight tilt over here. And we had this key 45-degree angle on this edge. Now I'm marking some of the negative space I was talking about with blue and green. You can check the accuracy of your drawing by comparing these areas. If their shapes match, your drawing should be proportionally right. In the meantime, I'm adding a little bit of texture to the chair to make it more interesting. Now here is a tip for you if your chair doesn't look quite right. Try to draw it again, but this time start drawing these blue and green shapes first. Don't step further until they are correct. If they look correct, you can build up the other parts of the chair. Hope this helps.